People that are electrosensitive are often people that are finely tuned to subtle energies. They're the people that walk into nature and have experiences that can be mystical and profound, because just like your card puts off a holographic image, the whole of nature is a living holographic product. It's a hollow movement, according to David Bohm's quantum physics. So the point I'm driving at is we are actually labeling people who are so finely tuned that they're sensitive to things that other people are not sensitive to, as though they're pathologic, when in actual fact, if they were writing down their mystical experiences, they might be celebrated like mystics are. So we're taking some of the most finely tuned creatures and diagnosing them as dysfunctional, when we should be using them as the canary in the coal mine to say these are the people that feel what the numbed out people don't feel, and therefore we should be using them for research to determine whether or not somebody's capable of even perceiving these subtle energies. And with so much 5G cell phone towers and now satellites everywhere, it doesn't matter. You could be standing in an empty field, just you and your cell phone, and not realize you're getting huge influences from technologies that you can't even see.
You see, 5G is a completely different topic, because 5G stands for fifth generation. The G is a generation. So, for example, 4G LTE, fourth generation telecommunication technology, and 5G telecommunication technology are very different. 5G, there is a proper 5G that is based on millimeter waves. It's 32 gigahertz. So where the LTE was 2.8 gigahertz. 1 gigahertz is 1,000 cycles. So if you look at the flat lake and you throw a stone, you're going to see circles coming out. So 2.8 gigahertz is 2,800 cycles coming out of that stone. So these are the cycles.
Waves. Yeah.
A minute.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a
Sorry,
second.
a second, absolutely a second. Now 5G is 32,000. So you're going from 2,800 cycles of exposure per second to 32,000 cycles of exposure per second. So it's more than 10x.
Yeah.
But that's not the main problem. The main problem is that you see millimeter waves, as much as they can transfer so much information, but they're not able to go long distance. So what they're doing before the LTE, you would have this, you will see this antennas, the antennas, and they could spread them in a city, and they can be like 20-25 kilometers away of each other, and you will still be in a grid. The millimeter waves, they're not traveling further than 400 feet. Even 3 crown affects it. So now what they're doing, they need to create a lot of transmitters, and they usually go into streetlights. Okay, so as you go and you walk in the middle of the, downtown, like I live in Toronto, you walk downtown Toronto, you see the street lights left and right. So they put them one yes, one no, one yes, one no, and alternatively on the other side, one yes, one no. So the idea is that with 4G, let's say you had, for example, in Toronto, in the city of Toronto, you had 10 antennas, and they would, create a network of 4G. But with 5G, they need to have 40,000, maybe 100,000 transmitters in the same city. They're going everywhere, and they don't look like your, this antenna tower that we see everywhere.
Yeah.
The 5G transmitters, they don't look anything like that. You don't even see them. They're tiny little modules that again, they put them literally in a box of the street light, and they're just everywhere. So what's going to happen? You will always be in a very, very close proximity to the source of electromagnetic exposure.
Yep.
Where with LT, you can dump your phone. Let's say you don't use any technology and you just walk in the city and you get exposure, but the source is far away. It could be 10 kilometers away from you. It could be further than that. 5G is not like that. 5G, if you see 5G, on your device, if you connect it to 5G and it's a proper 5G millimeter wave, you know that you are very close to the source.
Yeah, the sad thing, we live on top of a mountain, an hour's drive out of San Diego, and I'm super sensitive. When they installed 5G at our previous house in Vista, where we had 3/4 of an acre, it's everyone has a big space. It's not a cramped up place, but they installed 5G down there, and I could not sleep. It was like I was being buzzed by a microwave. The high energy that comes off a microwave oven, and I could not wait to get out of there. But now that they've launched all these satellites, intermittently now all of a sudden I'll get 5G on my phone and then it'll disappear. So I know it's because the satellite's moving around. But as you know, they're in the amazing book The Invisible Rainbow by Arthur Firstenberg, which is probably the most comprehensive book on all these issues ever published. He said at the time of that book they were planning to launch 42,000 5G satellites, but I've heard estimates up to 62,000 now. Have you got any insight on that?
Well, I don't have the insight, absolutely not. But you see, besides satellites, they're all forget about satellites, for example. If, look at that, as I just explained, never mind satellites, but you also have these transmitters everywhere. And then every device that you have connected acts as a retransmitter. It retransmits. So you
Yes.
may have, so look at this for a second. Let's say you live in a big farm and you have a 4G antenna 10 kilometers away from you. But then you have a Wi-Fi router, you have a cable that brings internet to that Wi-Fi router. Then that Wi-Fi router retransmit the EMF to all other devices that are connected, and everyone acts as a retransmitter. So it's really creates a grid of radio waves. It's all radio waves at the end of the day, right? But it's so dense now.
Yeah.
And the carrying wave, no one asks these questions, but how, before when cell phone were just came up to the market, I remember I was only allowed to type an SMS of like 30 character, like 30 letters SMS. Why? Because the carrying wave, the
Couldn't carry
bandwidth,
more
the
than that.
carrying couldn't carry more than that.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm taking a high definition, like HDR video with my iPhone, like 2 minutes of my son playing, and I send it to my mom, and she could be like, I don't know, on another side of the planet, and she gets it like in a second. Can you imagine what kind of energy behind it? Taking that information, if I just need to like how does it happen? So and it's not just my SMS. I mean, there are millions and millions of things happening at the same time. So we live in a very polluted digital noise.
Yes.
And there are ways to reduce exposure, and there are ways to make this safe. And I don't think we need to panic or anything like that, because at the end of the day, this industry will be better regulated. It's going there. I know a few things that's happening right now, but there are going to be a lot of adjustments, but right now there is none. And what you can do, you can get a
Aries
product,
Tech.
but you can get one of our products to protect you from the negative effects of electromagnetic radiation. You can consider getting some other products. Most of them are holistic. As I said, our product is a technology based, and that's the main difference.
Well, there's a point I want to bring up in there, because you mentioned something earlier, and I'm going to connect two dots together for the listeners. Because of the shorter distance that 5G can travel, they have to have massive numbers of antennas, which they've gotten smart, by the way. Now they're hiding them. A guy wrote a really good article that I read, and he showed all over cities how they were hiding them in what looked like little bird cages and inside of
They
plastic.
mask them. Yeah,
Yeah,
they mask them.
and frogs and all sorts of shit, so that people don't know they're there, because people were tearing them down because they were getting upset with the effects of them. But here's the point I'm driving at. When you're doing that from a satellite, you need so damn much energy to drive that wave to reach a cell phone. You're talking about wicked power.
Yeah,
And
I know.
that's what people don't
And you're
realize.
only talking about the cell phone. I mean, on my desk where I sit right now, I can count. I mean, just for the heck, like I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 devices on the desk that right now emitting EMF. Now
Yeah.
I'm fine because I have the LifeTune room installed that actually has 500 square feet effective range in diameter. Is one of our newest products called the LifeTune room. It's an area, it's a device that you install like a thermostat on one of the walls, and
Ah.
you usually have it in your bedroom. I mean, it's good for 500 square feet in diameter. So usually people put it in a bed, in the bedroom. They put it in their office. Yes, this is it.
Yeah.
And you can flip it the other side. There are two chips behind. Yeah.
Yes. So I thought that was it, because a while back, your company sent it to me to be aware of and try out. And so I have it sitting right here on my desk, where I too am surrounded with electronics. I do podcasts.
Yeah.
I've got 3 screens. I've got speakers. I've got a thing to warm keep my tea warm. I've got a clock, I've got, lights. So to me, this is like health insurance,
Absolutely.
because you and I both know that the health of the average individual today is pretty damn low. So if Humpty Dumpty's sitting on the wall, it can just take your cell phone to make Humpty Dumpty fall. And we know it takes all the king's horses and all the king's men to put Humpty back together again. And that's an expensive, dangerous proposition in the medical world we have today. Point being is, you're far better off to have some preventative technologies that save you from going from feeling fine one day to not knowing why you've got a headache all the time, or you got ringing in your ears, or your vision's blurry, or your back's aching, or your this or your that's going off. Because I've had a string of patients, as long as you can think of, come to me that have all these multiple diagnoses. And typically when a doctor gives a diagnosis with the word syndrome, like low back pain syndrome, chronic fatigue syndrome, I will interpret that for people. Whenever a doctor uses the word syndrome, it means I haven't really got a clue what the hell's going on with this person. This is the closest I can come.
Actually talking about EHS, electrohypersensitivity, do you know that EHS is a disease in Sweden,
Yes.
Norway, Denmark, Finland, in some other European countries? It's a disease, and it is an allergy in US.
Yeah.
It's funny, right? It's an allergy in US, but it's a disease in other countries.
Yes, and here's the other thing about that, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because I want to bring a point up. People that are electrosensitive are often people that are finely tuned to subtle energies. They're the people that walk into nature and have experiences that can be mystical and profound, because just like your card puts off a holographic image, the whole of nature is a living holographic product. It's a hollow movement, according to David Bohm's quantum physics. So the point I'm driving at is, we are actually labeling people who are so finely tuned that they're sensitive to things that other people are not sensitive to, as though they're pathologic, when in actual fact, if they were writing down their mystical experiences, they might be celebrated like mystics are. So we're taking some of the most finely tuned creatures and diagnosing them as dysfunctional, when we should be using them as the canary in the coal mine to say, these are the people that feel what the numbed out people don't feel, and therefore we should be using them for research to determine whether or not somebody's capable of even perceiving these subtle energies. You understand my point?
Yeah, I do.
So
100%.
it's like we've got everything backwards. We take the people that live on the fringe, the artists, the musicians, the people that bring in the new myths, that have clairvoyance and clairsentience, and we push them to the fringes of society and give them a diagnosis when we're, it's a classic example of that is when people start practicing inner arts like yoga and they start having kundalini rising experiences. They often think they're going crazy and they get labeled as psychotics and put into mental wards. But I can give you 20 books out of my library written by very skilled doctors, such as what's his name? Richard Gerber, MD, who wrote Vibrational Medicine, a phenomenal piece of work, and shows you exactly what happens as Kundalini rises and how it follows the symptoms that people get through yoga practices actually follow the homunculus inside the brain, the sensory model of the brain. And he tracked this. But the point I'm making is these people are actually growing spiritually. And as the life force energy in their body rises, it starts hitting resistance in the neural circuitry. And so then people start having headaches or having weird symptoms, but it's actually a healing response. I've seen it 1,000 times with my practitioners when I teach them Tai Chi, and they get a couple of months into their Tai Chi and they start calling me and going, I'm having all these weird symptoms. I say, your body's breaking through a barrier of resistance where you have chaos in the body and it's reorganizing it. There's nothing wrong with you. It's actually a healing response. So you see that we are actually misunderstanding that a lot of the people that we are diagnosing as having something wrong are oftentimes the most highly tuned, sensitive people. And we should be studying those people and listening to those people. And the guy that wrote the book, The Invisible Rainbow, Arthur Furstenberg, is one of those people, which is why he felt it was so important to get that information out. So, and a lot of these people don't know about these technologies, which is sad, which is why one of the reasons I really wanted to have this podcast to share for people that are electrically sensitive.